Hello, seventh grade. We are in our next unit. So moving into unit 2, and this is unit 10, and this is the second lesson that we are doing for unit 10 here. Um, this one should be a big review for you because it's a topic we've talked about, or you should have talked about, in a lot of different grades. I know it's something you touch on even as early as probably third or fourth grade. Probably actually fourth because that's where you do most of your division and stuff. So I could say as early as fourth grade, you've been talking about mean or finding your average. We need to go through this one because we're going to add a little bit more to it and we're going to make these kind of a little bit more challenging as we go through and we re-review our mean and as well as mean, median, mode, and our range. And then we're going to add in some other components like MAD. So MAD is a new kind of measurement that you'll be learning this year. So our I cans for today are I can understand the concept of the mean of a data set, of data sets. I can find the mean of data sets, and I can compare and interpret the mean of data sets. So what do those means really mean? All right. We're skipping our warm-up. We're moving ahead. So our essential question today is how can you find an average value of a data set? Okay. Remember that your average is the same thing as your mean, okay? So go back and think about what you already remember about your average or finding your mean. How are we going to be able to do that with given a set of data, okay? Because this is usually when we're going to calculate this value is if we're given a set of data. All right, take a minute, just kind of think about it, get your mind ready. Okay. So if we're looking at my mean, the mean of a data set is the sum of the data divided by the number of data values. Remember that sum means the operation of addition. So when you're taking a look at your data sets, you are going to add all the numbers together. So I'm adding the 8 plus the 5 plus the 6 plus the 4. And then you divide by the number of data values. So what's the quantity of the amount of data you have? Well, I had 4 data points. They were 8, 5, 6, and 9. There's 4 of them, so I'm going to divide it by 4. And I add all these up together. 8 plus 5 plus 6 plus 9 is 28, and I divide by how many numbers there were, which was 4, and I get a solution of 7, okay? So it's like a good estimate as to your number. So a lot of times they'll say, oh, on average, okay? So when I actually calculate your or our class grades or our class averages, this is what I do. I basically total up your percentages and figure out what percentage each person got, and I add them all together and I divide by the amount of people there are. That's when I'm looking for that higher than 80%, and that's where a lot of times you get a reward or something. Moving into distance learning, if anyone's got an idea what our reward could be, let me know. Maybe we just wouldn't have big ideas homework or something. I haven't really seen it quite yet, but I haven't really been looking at it quite yet either. But we can, if distance learning continues here, we can figure out a system that we could do something with that if your class has an average of 80% or higher, okay? Or a mean of 80% or higher. So let's keep going. Let's take a look at our first problem here. So our first problem says that the table shows the number of text messages sent by a group of friends over 1 week. Wow, I don't know if this is a lot or if this is too little, okay? Maybe right now you're texting more than this. But so here's everyone who's in that maybe group chat or text messages or how many messages in total each person sent, okay, over 1 week. What is the mean number of messages sent? So I want to figure out what is the mean number of messages sent, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at all these data points, okay? I've got Mark, I've got Laura, Stacy, John, Kevin, Mariah, and Manny. They all have a certain amount that they had sent messages for, or how many messages they sent. I'm going to add all these up, okay? So I'm going to add to 120 plus 95 plus 110, so on. Now, I also need to know how many students there were because when I set this up, I'm going to divide it by how many people there are. So it looks to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 people, so that's why I'm dividing by the amount of 7. In my problem, they also ask, or they say over a week. To be honest, this 1 week is a little bit of a filler in our problem because it is a numerical value, but it's not something we actually need in our problem. So I don't really need this 1 week. It's just a cool extra tidbit, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and fill in the numbers here in my addition problem up at the top. All right, I just got to add in one more digit here. Again, it's kind of hard for me to write on here. I'm working on getting a notepad, so it's a little easier for me to write. But I just added all of these ones at the top showing that equation, so I'm going to go ahead and simplify this. So let's add all these together. 120 plus 95, plus 95, plus 101, plus 125, plus 82, plus 108, plus 90. So it looks to me that I get 721 out of 7. So I'm going to use my division here, plugging in my calculator. And once I've done that, it looks to be that I get 103. So on average, if I take an average score here, most people were on average sending about 103 text messages a week. Put a comment down below and tell me, is that too much or is that too little? I don't know. On average, I have never sat there and counted how many text messages I've sent. Back in the day, when I was younger, you used to have to buy amount of text messages. So when I first got my phone, I actually was like, I don't really have anybody to text because it wasn't such a big thing when I first was given a phone. Because they were on these little phones, a little harder to text. People didn't text quite as often. People called more so. And I got 400 texts a month. That means you can receive 200 and you can send out 200. It's not, oh, I can send 400. So, I mean, in a month, that was really little. A lot of people otherwise had like a couple thousand, or you can buy up unlimited if you wanted. Nowadays, they don't charge you for how many texts you send for the most part. But yeah, just let me know in the comments below. Is that too much in a week or is that too little? I'm not sure. I haven't counted texts in a long time. All right, let's keep going. All right, so example 2, we're going to do kind of the same thing. We are going to be looking at finding your average. So it says 2 TV shows watched each day this week. So how many TV shows did you watch? So maybe on Monday you watched 2, Tuesday you watched 2, you know, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to rewrite this here, is we're adding these all together. And the part in here that actually does make sense for this problem is the week, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 sets of data. So I'm dividing it by 7 because it's the week. So I'm going to add those all up together and I'm going to divide by 7. So let's go ahead. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7, plus another 4 is 11, 12. Looks like I have 14. 14 divided by 7, that's pretty easy. That gives me an answer 2. So on average, it looks to be that you watched about 2 episodes every single day. I bet a lot of you are watching more than that. Or TV shows. I think it's TV shows, not episodes. Okay. The next one is points scored by each starter on a basketball team. So how much did those starters each, how many points did they get? So yeah, I'm just going to take the numbers just for it's a little easier for me to write here. I'm just going to add them all together. So there it looks to be 5 numbers. So I'm going to divide my whole set by 5. This is going to be a little bit more to add together. So I'm going to use my calculator. Again, if you want to use your phone or a computer, you can do that if you don't have an actual calculator. So 22 plus 18 plus 15 plus 6 plus 4. All right, that looks to be the top part. I get 65 divided out by 5, which I can already tell looks to be, it's going to be 13, but let me just double check. Yep, it is 13 is my average. So on average, those basketball starters are getting about 13 points per game. Okay, there's a few people who got a little less, few people who got a little bit more, but on average, if I find an average score, it's 13. All right, our next example here, we're going to take a look at some graphs. So how can we figure out my mean given a set of data points or data that's on a graph here? All right, so looking at my problem, it says the double bar graph shows the monthly rainfall amounts for 2 cities over a 6-month period. Compare the mean monthly rainfalls. So what I need to do in this problem is I need to find the mean for each different city, okay? The biggest part is there's 2 cities. The 6-month really does help me in a sense because that's how much total data I'm gonna have to divide it by. So let's go ahead and look at city 1. Okay, I don't know, we'll just do C1. Okay, C1 is this darker green here, kind of honestly, it's kind of a puke green. So we're gonna add up all these points. So you have 3.5 plus 2.2, it looks like for the next month. Let's see, for January, there's 1.9. For February, it's 2.1. For March, it's 2.5. And for April, it's 3.4. Okay, and we're going to take that and divide it by 6 because we're out of 6 months. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add up my part first at the top. So 3.5 plus 2.2 plus 1.9 plus 2.1 plus 2.5 plus 3.4. When you are solving for your mean or your average, make sure that if you're using a calculator, you don't just plug this entire big equation in here into your calculator because it's not going to operate right. So all I did was just add up the top first, which gave me 15.6, and then I'm going to divide it by 6 from there. Which looks to be that I get an average of 2.6. Okay, so that's for city 1. Let's change for color for city 2. I don't know, I'm kind of feeling pink, purple, let's do it. Okay, city 2. City 2 is kind of this almost like mute green, I don't know. So city 2 looks like for November I had 1.7. For December 1.6. No, January 2.2. It does get tricky as you go through this and making sure you're pulling out the right city, okay? Because there's lots of numbers here, so make sure you're looking at city 2 and you're pulling out the bar that has this value. Plus 2.1 plus 2.7 plus 1.7. Now I'm going to just double check that I got all the right numbers. 1.7, 1.6. 2.2, 2.1, 2.7, 2. Looks good to me. Okay, gonna divide it by 6. I'm gonna add those up first. $12. Hey, 12 divided by 6 is super easy. 12 divided by 6 gives me an answer of 2. So the biggest part at the end is they want you to compare the mean monthly rainfall. So it's just comparing those two numbers, okay? So you're looking at city 1. City 1 has an average of 2.6 and city 2 has an average of 2. So overall, like if I'm not going to write this out because I don't have a really good way to write it right now. So I'm just going to verbally tell you, if I was to write this out and give you the compare the meanly monthly data, you could say things like, City 1 has an average monthly rainfall that's higher than City 2. That's 0.6 higher than City 2. Or City 2 has a smaller amount of rainfall than City 1. Okay, those are ways that you're comparing them. You're either comparing or contrasting, whatever works, as long as you're giving me some sort of comparison and that you're looking back at both of these. Okay. I'm getting close to the end mark of this video, so please make sure that you check and look for the next video. Your code word today is water, right? So go ahead and you can look for part 2 for this lesson, okay? I'll catch you all in part 2. Bye.